Hey, Stoic friends. So you've heard about no contact, right? The classic strategy that everyone swears by to regain control, create space, and make them realize what they lost. But let's be real. Sometimes, no contact isn't enough. Sometimes, even after weeks or months of silence, you still feel stuck, still waiting, still hoping for some kind of shift. But what if I told you there's a strategy even more powerful? One that doesn't just make them notice your absence, but makes them question everything. One that doesn't rely on their response, but instead puts you in complete control. See, the problem with no contact is that it still keeps your focus on them. You're still waiting for a reaction, still hoping for a sign that they miss you. And when that sign doesn't come, frustration sets in. But true power, the kind that completely flips the dynamic, doesn't come from silence alone. It comes from indifference, from shifting your energy so completely that you no longer need to prove anything. This isn't about playing games or manipulation. It's about something deeper, an internal transformation that makes them feel your absence in a way they never expected. Because when you become truly unshakable, when you move in a way that they don't see coming, that's when everything changes. In today's video, we're diving into the strategy beyond no contact, one that rewires the way you handle loss, shifts the balance of power, and makes them rethink everything. If you're ready to break free from waiting, from hoping, from emotional dependence, then this is for you. Before we begin, drop a comment below with "I choose my power." And if you're ready to transform your mindset, stick around. This might just be the perspective shift you need. Let's get started. Number 1. The Fall. A heart broken by love. Hey, Stoic friends, if you're watching this, chances are you've felt it before. That sinking feeling, that heavy weight in your chest when someone you cared about walked away. It doesn't matter if you saw it coming or if it hit you out of nowhere. The pain is the same. And let's be real, heartbreak has a way of making even the strongest among us feel powerless. In the beginning, it's all confusion. You replay conversations in your head, searching for signs you might have missed. You ask yourself 100 times, was it something I said? Was I not enough? But here's the hard truth. Love doesn't always follow logic. Sometimes, people leave not because you did something wrong, but because they were never meant to stay. And yet, even knowing that doesn't make the pain disappear. Because heartbreak isn't just about losing someone, it's about losing the version of yourself that existed when you were with them. The person who believed in the future you built together, the person who felt seen and chosen. When they walk away, it's not just them you grieve. It's the part of you that they took with them. This is what makes heartbreak feel like a fall. It knocks you down, strips away your confidence, and leaves you questioning everything. You might find yourself hoping they'll come back, checking your phone for a message that never comes, or falling into the trap of thinking that if you just do something different, you can fix what's broken. But Stoicism teaches us something important. Pain is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to wake you up. What feels like the end is often the beginning of something greater. The problem is, when you're in the middle of the fall, it's impossible to see that. You're too caught up in the loss to recognize the opportunity that comes next. Right now, you might think the only solution is no contact. To disappear, to make them miss you, to prove your worth through silence. And while no contact has its place, it's not the ultimate strategy. Because if your focus is still on them, on their reaction, their absence, their return, then you're not actually free. The real strategy? It starts by shifting your focus inward, not by waiting for them to notice your absence, but by using this fall as a turning point. By realizing that you don't need to be chosen by them, you need to choose yourself. So, Stoic friends, if you've ever felt this kind of heartbreak, if you've ever been knocked down by love and struggled to get back up, drop a comment below with, "I rise from the fall." And if you're ready to stop waiting and start winning, not by playing games, but by taking back control, then stick with me, because this is just the beginning. Let's keep going. Number 2, the truth about no contact, why it's not enough. Hey, Stoic friends, so you've been told no contact is the answer. That if you just stop reaching out, if you disappear from their life, they'll start missing you. They'll realize what they lost. They'll come back. But let's be real for a second. Does it actually work? For some, no contact creates the illusion of control. It gives them something to focus on, something to do while they wait. And yes, it can be effective, but only if your goal is healing, not manipulation. Because here's the truth, most people won't tell you. If your only strategy is no contact, you're still playing the same game. You're still centering everything around them. Think about it. If every day you're counting how many days it's been, if you're still watching their social media, still secretly hoping they'll text first, then have you really moved on? Or are you just waiting in silence, hoping for a different outcome? Here's where most people get it wrong. No contact isn't about them, it's about you. If you're using it as a way to make them miss you, you're still giving them power. But if you use it as a way to reclaim your own mind, your own peace, that's when it becomes powerful. But even then, no contact alone is not enough. Because staying silent while secretly obsessing over them isn't real detachment. You're still emotionally tied to them, still letting their absence dictate your actions. True freedom comes when you stop needing a reaction from them at all. Let me ask you this. If they reached out today, how would you feel? Would you feel a sense of victory? Would your heart race? Would you drop everything to respond? If the answer is yes, then no contact hasn't done what it's meant to do yet. Because the real goal isn't to make them chase you, it's to reach a point where their presence or absence no longer dictates your peace. So what's the real strategy? It's shifting your focus inward. It's replacing that energy of waiting with self-transformation. Not just ignoring them, but actively building a life that's so fulfilling, so deeply yours, that whether they come back or not becomes irrelevant. This is what they don't expect. Most people use no contact as a silent protest, hoping it forces the other person to feel regret. But when you take it a step further, when you completely redirect your energy away from them and back onto you, that's when something shifts. And here's the irony. The moment you genuinely no longer need them to miss you, the moment you're no longer waiting, that's when they start noticing. That's when they start wondering, not because of no contact itself, but because of who you've become during it. So, Stoic friends, if you're in no contact right now, ask yourself, are you truly moving on? Or are you just waiting in disguise? Drop a comment below with "I focus on me." And if you're ready to go beyond silence and step into real power, keep watching. The next step is where everything changes. Let's keep going. Number 3, the power of indifference beyond no contact. Hey, Stoic friends, if no contact isn't enough, then what is? What's the real move that shifts everything? The answer isn't just silence, it's indifference. See, most people think no contact is the ultimate power move, that by disappearing, they gain control. But the truth? No contact without indifference is just waiting in disguise. You're still reacting. You're still hoping for a response. You might not be texting, but you're still emotionally invested. And that's where people get stuck. Real power doesn't come from what you do. It comes from what you no longer need to do. Indifference isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about actually reaching a place where their actions, their words, their absence, none of it shakes you. And here's the kicker. When you become truly indifferent, that's when the dynamic shifts. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've detached completely from their validation. The people who once had power over you start to feel that shift. They sense that they no longer affect your emotions like they used to. And that, my friends, is when they start paying attention. But let's be clear. Indifference isn't about ignoring someone while secretly hoping they'll notice. It's about removing them from the center of your mind entirely. It's about reaching a point where their choices no longer impact your mood, where you're no longer emotionally tied to whether they come back or not. So how do you cultivate this level of detachment? First, recognize your emotional triggers. The reason most people struggle with indifference is because they're still reacting on an emotional level. The moment you see their name pop up, the moment you hear a song that reminds you of them, it stirs something inside. But when you train yourself to see those moments as neutral, to take the emotion out of it, you start breaking free. Second, stop making their actions mean something about you. One of the biggest reasons people stay emotionally tied is because they personalize the situation. Why did they leave? What did I do wrong? But here's the truth. Most of what people do has nothing to do with you. Their choices are a reflection of them, not your worth. And when you internalize that truth, detachment becomes effortless. And third, shift your focus back to yourself completely. This is where most people fail at no contact. They stay silent. But they don't replace that energy with anything meaningful. But when you truly invest in yourself, when you start building, growing, evolving, you create a life so fulfilling that whether they notice or not becomes irrelevant. Here's what happens next. When you embody true indifference, they feel it, and it unsettles them, because people are drawn to what they can't control. The moment they sense that they've lost the ability to affect you, they start questioning things. They start wondering. And ironically, that's when they often try to pull you back in. But by then, you won't care, because real power isn't about making them chase you. It's about reaching a place where you don't need them to. So, Stoic friends, if you're done reacting and ready to embrace real indifference, drop a comment below with, "I own my energy." And if you're ready to take this to the next level, keep watching. Because now, we're getting into the real psychology behind attraction. Let's keep going. Number 4, the dark side of attraction, why they always come back. Hey, Stoic friends, have you ever noticed that the moment you finally start moving on, they come back? Just when you've stopped thinking about them, just when you're feeling good again, they appear out of nowhere. It's almost predictable. But why does this happen? Is it love? Regret? Or is there something deeper going on? The truth is, attraction isn't always about love. In fact, much of what pulls people back has nothing to do with deep emotions at all. It's about psychology, power, and control. See, human nature is wired to crave what isn't easily available. The moment something feels scarce, the brain perceives it as more valuable. This is why indifference is so powerful. The second someone senses they no longer have access to you, their mind starts playing tricks on them. They begin wondering, did I make a mistake? Why aren't they chasing me anymore? Have they moved on to someone else? It's not necessarily that they want you back. It's that they don't like the idea of losing you completely. For many, the realization that they are no longer desired triggers a need to re-establish control. This is the dark side of attraction. It's not about love. It's about the ego. Think about it. Why do so many people take someone for granted when they're always available? but suddenly want them when they pull away? It's because familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort breeds complacency. When they thought they could have you at any moment, they didn't feel the need to invest. But the second you shift your energy, their perception of you changes. This is why they come back when you least expect it, not when you're heartbroken and waiting, but when you've detached and moved on. Because at that point, you've become a challenge again. You've regained your mystery, your unpredictability. And to the human mind, mystery is irresistible. But here's where most people make a mistake. They see this return as a sign of true feelings. They assume, if they're coming back, they must have realized they love me. But more often than not, it's not about love. It's about reclaiming the sense of control they feel they lost. So what should you do when this happens? The answer isn't to reject them out of spite, nor is it to welcome them back with open arms. The real power move. Observe without reacting. If they truly regret losing you, they will show it through consistent effort, not just words. If they're just coming back to soothe their ego, you'll notice. They'll seek reassurance, but won't offer anything real in return. If their return makes you feel anxious or unsure, ask yourself, do I actually want them back? Or do I just enjoy the attention? Attraction is complex, but it's also predictable. And when you understand why people come back, you stop taking it personally. Instead of seeing their return as a sign of love, you see it for what it really is, a test of how much you've truly evolved. So, Stoic friends, have you ever experienced someone returning just when you least expected it? Drop a comment below with, I see through the game. And if you're ready to go deeper into the psychology of power, attraction, and detachment, keep watching, because what comes next changes everything. Let's keep going. Number 5. The Stoic transformation, turning pain into power. Stoic friends, let's talk about something real. Pain. The kind that shakes you, breaks you, and leaves you questioning everything. If you've ever been through heartbreak, betrayal, or disappointment, you know exactly what I mean. It's the kind of pain that feels like it owns you, like it's in control of your every thought, every emotion. But here's the truth. Pain doesn't have to weaken you. It can be the very thing that transforms you into something unstoppable. This is where the Stoic transformation begins. It's the shift from being a victim of your circumstances to becoming the master of your own reality. It's about taking every ounce of suffering you've been through and turning it into strength, wisdom, and resilience. Now, most people don't do this. They let pain consume them. They replay the past over and over, staying stuck in memories of what could have been. They hold on to anger, onto regret, onto the need for closure. And in doing so, they stay chained to the very thing that hurt them. But a Stoic does something different. A Stoic transmutes pain into power. So how do you do this? How do you take heartbreak, rejection, or failure and use it to fuel your transformation? First, you remove emotion from the equation. This doesn't mean suppressing feelings. It means observing them without letting them control you. Imagine you're watching yourself from the outside. Instead of drowning in emotions, step back and ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? Because pain is always a teacher. It's showing you where your attachments are, where your weaknesses lie, and what needs to change. Second, you shift from reaction to response. Most people let pain dictate their actions. They lash out. They beg for attention. They try to fill the void with distractions. But a Stoic steps back and chooses their response deliberately. Instead of acting from a place of desperation, they act from a place of self-respect. Third, you use pain as fuel. This is where the real transformation happens. Instead of letting pain break you, use it as a reason to level up. Hit the gym. Focus on your career. Develop new skills. Reinvent yourself completely. Pain is energy. It's up to you whether you let it destroy you or push you forward. Here's something powerful to remember. Some of the greatest transformations in history were born from suffering. Every successful person, every powerful figure, every legend has gone through moments of deep pain. But instead of letting it define them, they used it, and you can do the same. Because the moment you stop seeing pain as something to escape and start seeing it as something to embrace, everything changes. You stop waiting for closure. You stop needing validation. You stop hoping someone else will fix what's broken, because you realize you are the only one who can. So, Stoic friends, are you ready to take your pain and turn it into power? Drop a comment below with "Pain fuels my growth." And if you're serious about mastering this mindset, keep watching, because the next step will elevate you even further. Let's keep going. Number 6. The silent domination, winning without words. Hey, Stoic friends, have you ever noticed that the most powerful individuals in any room are often the ones who speak the least? They don't need to be the loudest. They don't need to argue, and they don't need to prove themselves. Yet, their presence alone commands attention. That's the power of silent domination. Most people assume that influence comes from words. What you say, how well you can argue your point, or how persuasive you are. But the truth is, real power comes from restraint, from knowing when to speak, and, more importantly, when to say nothing at all. Silence, when used correctly, is a weapon. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that creates space for others to think, to question, and to feel the weight of their own actions. Because here's the thing, when you remove words from a situation, you remove distractions. What's left is pure presence, pure intention, and people feel that. Think about it. Why is it that after an argument, people remember the things left unsaid more than the words spoken? It's because silence forces reflection. It forces someone to sit with their own thoughts, their own emotions, without interference. That's why, when someone expects a reaction from you and gets nothing, it hits differently. It unsettles them. This is why the most powerful leaders, the most magnetic individuals, and even the most respected historical figures all understood one thing. Control over your words is control over your energy. When you can sit in silence and remain unfazed, when you can let someone else's chaos exist without becoming a part of it, you show true dominance, not through force, but through presence. And here's the thing. Silent domination isn't about disappearing completely. It's about learning how to exist in a way that demands attention without demanding validation. It's about knowing that your energy, your growth, and your actions will always speak louder than anything you could say. Instead of asking how to master this, ask yourself, when was the last time you truly sat in silence with confidence? When was the last time you let someone wonder instead of rushing to explain? When was the last time your absence made a louder impact than your words ever could? Silence isn't weakness. It's a signal, a sign that you've moved beyond needing approval, beyond needing to justify, beyond needing to convince. And when you reach that level, you stop playing the game entirely, because you've already won. Stoic friends, if you've ever held your silence and felt its power, drop a comment below with "Power moves in silence." And if this is resonating with you, stay with me, because next, we're taking this to an even deeper level. Let's keep going. Number 7, the social shift, creating an aura of mystery. Hey, Stoic friends, have you ever been around someone who just had that energy? The kind of presence that made people lean in, curious, drawn in without even knowing why. That's the power of mystery. And when you master it, you become the one people can't stop thinking about. See, most people misunderstand attraction. They think it's about always being available, constantly proving their worth, or making sure they're seen. But the truth? The most captivating individuals are the ones who reveal just enough to spark curiosity, but never everything at once. Mystery isn't about being secretive. It's about being selective with what you share. It's about moving differently, carrying an energy that makes people wonder, rather than assume they already know everything about you. When people can predict you, when they feel like they've figured you out, the intrigue disappears. But when you create space for curiosity, when you leave room for people to fill in the blanks, that's when they become invested. So how do you cultivate this aura of mystery? It starts with changing how you show up socially. If you've always been the one oversharing, explaining yourself, or trying to keep conversations alive, stop. Instead of feeling the need to fill every silence, let silence exist. Instead of revealing everything up front, let people earn access to deeper parts of you. Think about the most magnetic people in any social setting. They aren't the ones who dominate conversations or try to impress everyone. They are the ones who hold a certain detachment, a quiet confidence. They observe more than they speak. They engage with presence, but without the need for validation. And that makes people want to know more. Now, here's where the social shift happens. When you start moving with purpose, rather than reaction. Most people move through life reacting to external validation. They post things hoping for a certain response. They tell stories to impress. They seek approval without realizing it. But when you shift your energy away from trying to be seen and instead focus on being, your presence alone becomes powerful. Imagine this: you walk into a room, and instead of seeking attention, you simply exist in your own energy. You engage only when it adds value. You don't chase conversations, but you also don't avoid them. You allow space for others to wonder about you, to ask questions, to notice your presence without you forcing it. That's mystery, and that's power. And here's the thing. Mystery isn't just about social dynamics. It applies to every aspect of life. When you're unpredictable, when you don't always respond immediately, when you have a life so full that people don't always know what you're doing, it creates a natural pull, because human nature is wired to crave what isn't easily accessible. So if you want to shift how people perceive you, start by shifting how you carry yourself. Move with quiet confidence. Speak with intention. Let people earn your attention rather than handing it out freely. The less you try to be noticed, the more people will start noticing. Stoic friends, have you ever felt drawn to someone simply because they didn't reveal everything at once? Drop a comment below with "Mystery attracts." And if this idea speaks to you, stick around. Because what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew about human connection. Let's keep going. Number 8, the ultimate test, when they reach out. Hey, Stoic friends. So you've been doing the work. You've stepped back, focused on yourself, and reclaimed your energy. Then, just when you've stopped waiting, they reach out. That message pops up. That name appears on your screen. Maybe it's casual, maybe it's unexpected, but it happens. And now, you're faced with the ultimate test. How do you respond? Most people fail this test. They think, "This is what I wanted. They're back!" And without thinking, they rush to reply, opening the door wide open as if nothing ever happened. But if you do that, you risk undoing all the progress you've made. Because here's the truth. When they reach out, it's not just about what they say. It's about why they're saying it. So before you even think about responding, pause. Ask yourself, what is their intention? Are they genuinely interested in reconnecting? Or is this just an ego check? Are they reaching out because they regret losing you? Or are they just making sure you're still available? See, people don't always reach out because they miss you. Sometimes they reach out because they miss the way you made them feel. the attention, the validation, the security of knowing you were always there. That's why you can't react impulsively. You have to approach this with a Stoic mindset, with clarity and detachment. So how do you handle this moment? Here's where you shift from reacting to responding with power. First, don't rush to reply. When they see that message is delivered but not instantly responded to, it sends a message. You are no longer waiting. People feel it when they're no longer a priority, and that alone changes the dynamic. Second, match their energy, but don't overextend. If their message is vague, don't overcompensate by giving them all your attention. If they're being distant, you don't need to be overly engaged. Keep your response measured, neutral, and in control. And third, observe their actions, not just their words. Anyone can say, "I miss you." Anyone can say, "I've been thinking about you." But do their actions reflect real effort? Are they consistent? Or is this just another cycle? This is what separates those who reclaim their power from those who fall back into the same patterns. Because how you handle this moment determines everything. Whether they see you as the same person they left behind or someone completely transformed. And here's the most powerful part. When you remain unattached to the outcome, when you don't need them to come back, that's when you truly win. Whether they stay or go becomes irrelevant, because you've already chosen yourself. So, Stoic friends, if you've ever faced the ultimate test and handled it with power, drop a comment below with, "I choose my response." And if you're ready to take this transformation even further, stick around, because what comes next is the final shift that makes you truly unbreakable. Let's keep going. Number 9, the final shift, becoming truly unbreakable. Hey, Stoic friends, there's a moment in this journey when everything changes. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It doesn't happen in a single breakthrough moment. But one day, you wake up and realize you're not the same person anymore. The things that used to shake you, that used to consume your mind, that used to make you question your worth, they no longer have power over you. At first, it feels strange. You expect yourself to react the way you used to care like you once did, but the feeling isn't there. It's not numbness, it's freedom. You've detached from the emotional weight that once kept you stuck. And for the first time, you're seeing things clearly. The past doesn't haunt you, the future doesn't scare you, and the present, that's where you exist fully, without the need to chase, to impress, or to seek validation. Most people never reach this place. They stay trapped in cycles of attachment, constantly seeking closure, constantly waiting for someone or something to fill the void. But those who do make it, the ones who undergo the final shift, become truly unbreakable, not because they never feel pain, but because they no longer let pain define them. You start to notice it in how you move through life. The things that used to trigger you now feel distant, almost like they happened to a different person. The arguments you once engaged in now seem pointless. You stop explaining yourself to people who never truly listened in the first place. You let things be. If someone walks away, you don't chase. If someone returns, you don't cling. You observe, but you no longer attach. And here's where the real transformation happens. The moment you stop needing external validation, people feel it. The ones who once thought they could come and go as they pleased now realize they've lost access to you. Not because you're being cold, not because you're trying to prove a point, but because you've simply outgrown the version of yourself that once waited for them. It's unsettling for them. They expect the old you, the one who needed reassurance, who sought answers, who held on to hope that things would change. But when they find someone unshaken, someone who no longer seeks what they once gave so easily, it forces them to reflect. And that's the irony. By the time they realize what they lost, you no longer care. This is the final shift. The moment where you no longer play the game, not because you've won or lost, but because you don't need to play at all. You understand now that nothing external can break you unless you allow it to. You are no longer defined by someone else's love, attention, or absence. You've become whole on your own, and that is the most powerful thing anyone can achieve. So, Stoic friends, have you felt this transformation within yourself? Have you reached the point where nothing and no one holds power over you anymore? Drop a comment below with, "I am truly unbreakable." And if this resonates with you, if you feel yourself stepping into this mindset, stay with me. Because what comes next isn't just about letting go. It's about stepping fully into the life you were meant to live. Let's keep going. Number 10, the new reality, a life on your terms. Stoic friends, this is it. The moment you stop looking back, the moment you stop seeking validation, stop waiting for things to return to how they were. Stop thinking in terms of what could have been. This is where everything shifts. Not because you forced it, not because you tried to control it, but because you finally let go and stepped into something greater. A life on your terms. See, most people never reach this point. They stay trapped in emotional cycles, reacting instead of creating, hoping instead of acting. They think freedom comes when the past fixes itself, when someone returns, when closure finally arrives. But the real freedom? It happens when you stop needing any of that. When you realize that the power you were looking for was never in someone else's hands, it was always in yours. And when that happens, life moves differently. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying why you've changed. You stop waiting for anyone to recognize your worth. Because now, you know your worth. And that knowing is enough. The world starts to feel like a blank slate again, full of possibilities you hadn't even considered before. When you're no longer weighed down by attachment, you start living fully. You take risks without fear. You pursue what excites you without hesitation. And you show up as the most authentic version of yourself. Unfiltered, unafraid, unapologetic. And here's what's fascinating. When you move with this kind of energy, everything around you starts shifting too. The same people who once overlooked you now feel drawn to you. The same situations that once drained you now seem trivial. You attract different opportunities, different relationships, different experiences, not because you're chasing them, but because you finally become aligned with the life you were meant to live. But let's be clear, this isn't about becoming emotionless. It's not about acting like nothing affects you. It's about mastering the art of choice, choosing who and what deserves your time, choosing how you respond, choosing the kind of energy you allow into your space. This is what it means to live on your terms, not bound by expectations, not controlled by external circumstances, but completely in charge of yourself. Think back to the version of you that existed before all of this, the one who second-guessed, who over-explained, who sought approval. That version of you was necessary to bring you here, but you are no longer that person. You've evolved. You've stepped into something more powerful, and from this moment forward, you don't shrink back to fit into old places. You expand into new ones. So, Stoic friends, this is where the journey changes. The past no longer defines you. The future no longer intimidates you. You are here, fully present, fully alive, fully in control of your own reality. If this resonates with you, drop a comment below with, "I live on my terms." And if you've made it this far, remember, you didn't just survive, you transformed. And now, your life is yours to create. This is your new reality. Step into it. Stoic friends, this is where everything changes. You're no longer waiting, no longer seeking, no longer bound by the past. You've stepped into a new reality, one where you define your own worth, your own path, your own life. If today's message resonated with you, take a moment to affirm it. Drop a comment below with "I create my own path." And if you found value in this journey, consider subscribing. There's always more to uncover, more to grow into, and more power waiting for you to claim. Stay strong, stay grounded, and until next time, keep moving forward.